As an automotive content creator, I know how difficult it can be from going from getting paid $0 to hopefully getting paid from private owners to then getting to work with some of your favorite clients and brands. And that leads me to this project where I've essentially been given this car from Subaru to create content for an extended period of time. So let's talk about how I went from $0 to now getting paid to drive this car long term. I'm gonna keep this a bit more casual too, because I want you guys to kind of get the full gist of it. So I'm gonna read my notes a little bit. But step one, and the most important, is setting the foundation of quality in your work. You want to create as much content as you can and learn how to be the best in your industry. Now, I don't profess by any means to be the best in my industry, but I did try and learn from the best and get as good as I could, because the goal here is to be able to not be ignored. You want to make your photos and videos so good that when people come to your channel or your website or wherever you're posting them, that people can recognize that this person is a professional. It took me a long time to get to that point because, like you guys, I did come up in this journey shooting everything I could get my hands on, from a Honda Civic to a Nissan Rogue to Toyotas at a dealership. In fact, this very spot is where I came when I got my first shoot with the Toyota, so I could impress them and show them the beauty of Canada. Another way that I went from zero to getting paid was by building a community around the content that we are creating. I wanted to teach you guys everything that I knew so that together we would grow. And this has also helped me build influence. So social media isn't necessarily the only way to get paid, because I know a ton of photographers that don't have huge followings but have quality work that get paid well by big brands. But ultimately, it doesn't hurt to start trying to build your channel, whether it's on Instagram or here on YouTube. It all helps, honestly, to get recognized. All right, so step two is being intentional with building your brand. So hopefully at this point you've got quality work, you've got an Instagram or somewhere that you can present your work professionally. I think one of the things that set me apart early in my career is being someone great to work with. And what I mean by that is, whether you're shooting with private clients or whether you're shooting with brands, make sure that you are responding to emails and make sure that you are giving them the content that you tell them that you're going to give them, and do it in a timely fashion. I think some brands are actually okay with okay content as long as you provide the content that you've told them that you're going to provide. Do it in a timely fashion and be a strong communicator. A great example of how your personality and building of your brand matters is that someone that I shot with privately at one point owned a Porsche GT4, and now that same owner, because I did a good job and delivered on what I promised, he now owns a Porsche GT3 Touring, which you will see all the content of here. And that car is awesome. So as he grows in his development of his garage and car ownership, and I develop in my skills as a professional, we get to grow together. And because I've continued that positive relationship, that way I get to shoot better cars. And that's also how I've gotten to work with Subaru, which I'll get into. The last thing that I'll say is important for step two is I tend to under pitch and over deliver. So if you can find a brand or a client, I'll tell them, hey, I'm gonna deliver you maybe 10, 15, high quality, magazine worthy photos, and then I tend to deliver like 40 photos. So what that does is it shows that I'm gonna go above and beyond and deliver more than your expectations. Step three in my process was being ahead of what brands wanted from me. Let me give you a few examples of how this actually tangibly worked in my career. When I started working for a local Toyota dealership here in Calgary, I approached them with several ideas of how I could fill gaps in their content strategy. So when I showed up, I didn't just ask if I could take a car and give them photos, because I knew they didn't necessarily need that. But what they did need was high quality photos of local content as well as high quality videos. So I highly recommend that whatever brand you want to work with, or if you want to work with a local car dealership or a larger brand like Subaru, find a content gap and then offer your services inside of that content gap. Another great example is when I started working with Subaru 3 years ago. They hired me for a very specific project that had to do with my social media. And when that project was nearing an end, I actually pitched them on an additional project. As I was working with them, I got to see a few of the gaps in their content strategy. Not that they were doing a bad job, but there was places that I could fill specifically and offer it to them. So after I'd now built a relationship and provided them quality work and been a great communicator, I was able to pitch them on something else that they could use to help bolster their brand. So like I said in steps 1 and 2, if you've built an intentional brand, you deliver on the quality content that you've guaranteed them. find gaps and holes in their content strategy. That to me is huge value for brands. This strategy has worked for me many times, not just in the automotive space, but in other areas as well. There are a lot of questions as to whether you should work for free or not work for free. And I have done a lot of work for free to show my value and to show how well I can communicate and add value to a brand. In fact, this company here, One Bone, I've done the exact same thing with them to build a positive relationship. And then from there, you build a relationship and you start to get paid. So all of these steps have led me from getting paid $0 to getting paid well over $100,000 per year working with brands, car brands, camera brands. Now, I don't want you to hear this and think that this happened overnight, because it did not. It's been about 8 years of me doing the YouTube journey and building my socials and building my brand so that when companies come to me, I've proven that I can provide. So I don't want you guys to think that this is going to happen immediately, but if you're serious about this journey, hopefully some of these steps along the way will get you there. And this car isn't free. They didn't give me a $50,000 Subaru Solterra. I pitched Subaru on an opportunity to create more content in an area that they could use, and they needed content with the Subaru Solterra. So they've offered this to me on a long-term loan, which has actually been a lot of fun, because on the internet we talk a lot about EVs and whether they're good or bad, but I haven't had the opportunity to live with one long term. So I've learned a lot about EV ownership, and I'm hoping I'll get to make a long-term owner review on this car. So ultimately what I'm doing with this car is I'm providing them content on a monthly basis, and hopefully we can continue to do this on a continued basis throughout the year. Now that depends on if I perform as I need to, and that it adds value to their brand. If it doesn't, then they won't continue doing that. That's just how brands work. They need to get value from their money. But this is just another great example of how you can find content gaps for brands and offer them value, and they are willing to pay for it if you can offer them the right content in the right place. Let me give you guys my final thoughts on going from $0 to hopefully making enough to do this full time. Build your content to be the highest quality standard. Curate your brand to work with the brands that you want to work with, and be one step ahead of what the brand thinks that they need. Make sure to do your research before you offer anything that they maybe don't need, because that doesn't look good on you. If you do this well enough with brands you love, then hopefully over the long term you can go from making $0 to making well over $100,000 working with brands that you genuinely love, and maybe driving cars around that you enjoy for free or getting paid to do it. It's pretty freaking cool, this industry. So obviously my journey is not a one size fits all. Your journey might be different. Your journey might be a lot faster. So that's also fantastic. There's so many opportunities out there. Go get them, work hard, and I hope that you guys found value in this. If you did, let me know down in the comments. Hit me with that thumbs up. Come join me on Instagram, because I love chatting with you guys over there. And I hope I'll see you in the next video. Peace. I think another part of the reason why they offered me the car is because I live in this absolutely beautiful country. Like, look at this. Surrounded by mountains. Just everywhere. This is like behind Canmore. So if you guys are ever out in Canada, come to Canmore, Alberta, and then go behind the mountains. It's just stunning out here.